Good morning, everybody. Evolutionary Podcast coming your way. Stevesmi and Rick.
What's up, Steve? What's up, guys? How's everybody doing out there?
Hanging in there. Beautiful, beautiful day out there. Go out, enjoy it, take advantage. Listen, this is going to be number 310. So we're firing past 300. And this is going to be another compound episode. And this time, guys, we're going to talk about HCG. So we're going to tell you all about HCG. It gets talked about a lot on the forums. The name of HCG, it stands for Human Chorionic Gonadotropin. And what it is, it's a polypeptide hormone. And it was originally derived from the urine of pregnant females, extracted out of there. And now, obviously, they make it in a lab, and it's basically the carbon copy of that. It was discovered before World War II by a company called Organon, which was very, very popular, made a lot of steroids throughout the 90s. And they named it Pregnol. So originally, they sold it to treat female infertility, depression, obesity, and bleeding of the uterus. So as time went on, much like insulin, drug companies found out a way to produce it synthetically. So the HCG you buy today isn't actually that female pregnant urine. It's actually a synthetic powder, which is, what these guys do. So back in those days, they used to play a lot with hormones. That was their little thing. I'm not really sure what happened, why they don't play with hormones anymore. I think just they kind of ran out of ideas and it's not maybe profitable for them to do that anymore. But back in those days, they did. So I'm going to bring in Rick. Rick's going to tell us a little bit more about the history behind HCG.
All right, guys. So the history of HCG, really short history here. As far back as 1928, scientists were looking for this hormone. They were trying to find a good test to figure out when women were pregnant or not. And one of the first things developed was actually injecting the urine of pregnant women or women that were believed to maybe be pregnant into a toad. And the toad would actually ovulate just not long after having been injected. If the woman was pregnant and there were high levels of HCG in her urine, obviously the toad would ovulate. And this was like the first time that something like this was developed. Obviously, today we have a strip that women urinate into, and the strip will give you one line or two lines, right, depending on whether she's pregnant or not. Now, I don't have the info on when HCG was available commercially for prescription and such, but there is a reference here to a doctor in 1954 who's the first guy to develop the HCG diet. And as far back as 1954, the idea of injecting HCG into your fatty tissue to help lose weight during a caloric deficit diet for women was started to be a thing. That's how far back it's gone. Eventually, the FDA forced the doctor to stop making claims on the HCG diet because other doctors tried to replicate the results, and they weren't able to. So he came under a lot of pressure, and the FDA made him take back some of his claims. Now, HCG has been used by bodybuilders now, mainly to grow their testicles back. 1970s, 80s, not a full lot was really understood about suppression and post-cycle therapy, but guys knew that HCG would make your testicles plump right back up if they got small, if you had some testicular shrinkage from taking steroids. HCG is still used and available today. It's funny because sometimes HCG will become real scarce in the market for a period of a year or two. Then it'll be real abundant. Then it'll be scarce again. So there's definitely, I've seen it both ways where sometimes it's real easy to get and sometimes it becomes really hard to find. Although there are probably better options on the market today for post-cycle therapy than HCG. I personally like HC Generate, or N2 Generate, right, which are my herbal products. I think they do a much better job at everything HCG used to do for me. Even when you took HCG, you still want to back it up with some Clomid. So fact that you get a bit of an estrogen spike with HCG, and that you still got to take the Clomid. I eventually over time just swapped it out for the herbal, the N2 generate, and I feel like the herbal products really fill in that gap. So it's pretty much just the history on HCG, guys. It's been scientists have known about it since 1928. It's the oldest reference I found, and bodybuilders are still using it today. It's being used worldwide, and stuff's still around. It's not criminalized, but it is prescription only. And some people still use it for dieting. They still believe it can burn fat.
All right, yeah, we're gonna get into using it for PCT in a little bit, but first I wanted to get in add something to what Rick was saying. So if you've ever heard about this, basically where HCG comes from, in the early stages of pregnancy, it's going to be created in the placenta. It plays a role in progesterone production. That's a very important female hormone. So if you've ever been in a situation where your girlfriend had a pregnancy scare, which, all of us used to when we were younger, you may have purchased your girlfriend, you went to the store and bought like 5 different pregnancy tests. So after conception, levels of HCG are going to rise. And that's why when they pee on a stick, it's going to be detected. So that's why HCG is extracted from female pregnant urine. So that's where it's coming from. That's the hormone that's being created in there. So that would be an indicator of pregnancy if they peed on the stick and it came out positive. So for some of you, it's going to be very, very bad news. For others, it may be good news. I don't know. And what happens after about a few months, your levels start to drop until the female gives birth. So that's where HCG is actually derived from. Now, why are we talking about HCG on this podcast? It's because over the years, just like all these other hormones and these other drugs that have been produced, bodybuilders have found ways to use HCG in bodybuilding. So those that use anabolic steroids will use HCG to on cycle basically mimic LH, which is luteinizing hormone. So when you mimic LH in your body, your pituitary glands still get signaled to be suppressed, still get signaled to be shut down, but your Leydig cells, which are your testes, get signaled to function. So when you're on cycle and you take HCG, your balls will plump. That's why they plump. But it's not preventing you from being shut down. It's not preventing you from being suppressed. All it's doing is it's jumping over the pituitary glands and stimulating your Leydig cells. So it's fool's gold if you use HCG during cycle or during PCT and you say, wow, my balls are being plumped. That means that I'm not getting shut down. No, you're still getting shut down. It's just jumping over the pituitary glands when it comes to your HPT as a whole. So what Rick was saying is absolutely right. To use HCG Generate, the modern supplement called N2 Generate, it's got natural herbs in it, and those natural herbs are going to plump your testicles just the same way as HCG would, but at the same time, the N2 Generate will not shut down your pituitary glands further delaying recovery. So really, in my opinion, guys, and this is based on what I'm explaining to you, really the only time you should be using HCG would be maybe toward the end of a cycle or in a situation where you're going to come off. You should never use HCG, though, during post-cycle therapy because it's just going to delay recovery. Remember, you cannot be recovered without your pituitary glands functioning and spitting out that LH and that FSH, follicle-stimulating hormone. You cannot be recovered just because your balls plump up. That's not recovery. You cannot be recovered just to signal your Leydig cells to function. That's not recovery. Because what happens is guys run HCG and PCT, their balls plump, and they're like, oh my God, I'm recovered, so let me hop on another cycle. And they keep repeating that mistake over and over. And over time, they're basically frying their HPTA. And guys over the years on forums have said, you know what, I use HCG for years. I fried my HPTA. Now I have to go on TRT the rest of my life. And they'll use some vague reason for that happening. They'll just come up with something like that to say that. But that's not the truth. The truth is you're using HCG and PCT, and you are keeping yourself shut down throughout PCT. And then you were never giving your HPTA, your pituitary glands, a chance to ever recover properly. That's why you fried your HPTA. It's not for no other reason than that. So it's fool's gold. And we see a video of Rich Piana. It's still up there. It's got millions of views. And Rick, I'm sure you've seen this video where he talks about HCG and he says, oh, you should always run HCG and PCT. That's all you need for PCT, blah, blah, blah. Guys, Rich Piana never came off hormones. If you run HCG and PCT, that's a hormone. You're just staying on a hormone. You might as well just run testosterone during PCT if that's going to be your attitude toward PCT. So absolutely, it should not be ran in PCT. The purpose of PCT is to give yourself a soft landing. Does HCG give you a soft landing? Yes, it does. But it also does not allow you to recover. It delays recovery because it is a hormone and it's continuously suppressing you. So the only time you should use HCG if you want a soft landing is when you're on cycle and you come off and the esters are trickling out of your body. You can use some HCG then. Is it necessary? No, it is not. It is not necessary. But we're seeing HCG pushed, and for two reasons. And Rick, I'm going to bring you in on this because you know much more about international stuff than I do. But I'm strongly a believer that it gets pushed for two reasons. Number one, it's extremely cheap to produce. Extremely cheap. So the profit margins on HCG are sky high. I mean, they make 10 times. It probably costs $5 to make HCG, and they sell it for $50. The second reason is the HCG diet. The HCG diet is pushed so much, and that people in India, they are selling HCG to Americans, and they try to push the HCG diet to help Americans lose weight. And HCG doesn't cause weight loss. We know that. So we've had some anti-aging clinics over the years selling HCG as a weight loss remedy, and the FDA came in and finally shut them down. They were late to the party shutting them down, but they did shut them down. They said, no, you cannot keep selling HCG for diet loss because that's not what it is. It's extracted female urine. How the hell does extracted female urine help you lose weight? Makes absolutely no sense. So Rick, I'm going to bring you in on this. Tell us your thoughts on the stuff I've been saying.
You know, the way I regard HCG, it has a pretty immediate cosmetic effect as far as making your balls get plumped pretty quickly. So if your balls got a bit small from being on cycle too long, or you're just sensitive, and it does happen to people, the HCG, a shot will bring them back fairly quickly. However, I feel like, and I've also discussed this with other bros, I feel like it gives you a bit of an estrogen spike. You can feel it in your mood a little bit. You can feel it in and see it in the way you retain water for a couple of days after the shot. And HCG doesn't have some long ester where it's in your system for days. It's in and out same day. So really, you only get the benefits or the effects of it for about a day. Then it's gone. It's good. It helps to kickstart and to kind of wake your Leydig cells up, cells in your testicles, obviously, right? Wake them back up, get them going again after they've been suppressed from cycle. So when you're on cycle, your pituitary is not producing as much LH and FSH as it normally would, shuts down. So the Leydig cells are not being stimulated, and so they shrink. Your testicles, they just get smaller. HCG stimulates these Leydig cells again. They plump up. They get ready to produce testosterone. And this is where the size change comes in. Now it's okay, but it's gone after first day, and you need more than 1 day to recover. Some guys used to take their HCG kit and spread it out over a week or two, taking a shot every other day or every third day in order to spread out the effect, because 1 day, one shot just isn't enough. Again, this thing doesn't have some ester chain where it stays active for days. So I mean, it does help, and I feel like if your Leydig cells were atrophied from really low LH and FSH levels, I feel like when you take the HCG shot, maybe makes them just a little bit more sensitive to LH and FSH. So even if your pituitary is just recovering, you're still getting some benefit even from the lower levels. Something that maybe your Leydig cells wouldn't be as responsive if they were atrophied. What your pituitary gland is making at the time is maybe not enough to wake them up, I guess you could say, and the HCG shot gets them plumped up. Now, the reason why I've really have preferred and switched over to the herbals ingredients over time as opposed to HCG is because I can take the herbs day after day after day for months on end, and they're always working, when the HCG shot is really in and out of your system. One of the lab tests done on animals on the Phaedogia agrestis in HC Generate, now called Into Generate, it showed that basically the animals' testicles grew. The rats' testicles grew during this study. They took in more cholesterol. And the reason they took in more cholesterol, obviously, is because your Leydig cells make testosterone out of the cholesterol. So the cholesterol is a big complex structure, right? Relatively speaking, it's like a big chunk of granite. And then different enzyme reactions in your testicles, cleave away parts of that big chunky cholesterol molecule. And what's left over is the three-ring structure we all know as testosterone. This is all done by your Leydig cells and enzymes. Part of what makes your testicles plump, that additional cholesterol in there. And Phaedogia agrestis does just that. As well as increase testosterone on blood test, it actually plumps your testicles right up. And it doesn't take a long time. If your testicles are small from taking steroids, once you get on the N2 Generate for about 3 to 5 days, I mean, they'll plump right back up within the first week. You might get some pain in your nuts during this time. Some guys have reported a little bit of pain, but they're growing pains. Your testicles get nice and plump again after only about 5 days on it. So HCG, again, it's not a bad product. A lot of guys see benefits and they feel like it really helps their cycle. But it was a good product for like the 70s and the 80s, 90s, when we just didn't have a lot of other options. Nowadays, when you have something like N2 Generate that you can buy over the counter, and it's always legit and money back guarantee that we offer, and you're getting all those benefits and feeling even better on it, it just kind of makes taking a shot of HCG obsolete at this point. I mean, you do get that cosmetic benefit, but you're not recovering a lot just on a 1-day shot.
So I want to cover HCG diet a little bit, because a lot of you may be listening to this because someone told you about the HCG diet. We all know someone who did the HCG diet. We all know someone, especially over the past 5 years. And I gotta talk about this a little bit. So originally Rick had alluded to it earlier. A British doctor during the 50s, he came up with it because he wanted to fight obesity. But there was no medical proof that it helped with obesity. So then since then, we've had it. It went away, it came back. It went away, come back. It went away, come back. Keeps going and coming back, because you'll have some guru, one of these crazy people, conspiracy people like Kevin Trudeau, for example, who have no background in medicine. They never lifted weights in their life. They never used steroids in their life. They know nothing about this stuff. They come up with it and they say, oh, the government's trying to scare you into not using it, blah, blah, blah.
He went to jail. You know that, right?
Yeah, so he ends up going to jail because he's a fraudster, basically. But he still has so many people that love him and think that it's some conspiracy where the government's putting him away. So the way the HCG diet works, guys, is you inject the HCG 2-3 times a week. You inject it, and then you only do 500 calories a day. Now, the problem with 500 calories a day is it's a crash diet. So when you eat 500 calories a day, what ends up happening is your metabolism crashes. So ask anyone who tried the HCG diet. They'll lose weight initially, and then what happens? 6 months later or a year later, they gain everything back and more because they crash their metabolism. It's not a sustainable diet. I know people who ran the HCG diet. They basically would eat a slice of pizza in the morning, a slice of pizza in the evening. That was their diet. And they did lose some weight initially, but over time they actually end up gaining more weight. So it's bullshit. The HCG diet is complete bullshit.
You know, if you're in the high teens in body fat, maybe in the 20s in body fat percentage, and you eat one slice in the morning and one slice in the afternoon, chances are you're going to lose weight. I mean, that's enough of a caloric deficit to lose weight if you're in the teens. Now, if you're like low teens or high single digits body fat, and you eat a pizza in the morning, a pizza at night, you probably won't lose a lot of weight, a lot of fat at all. Probably you'll start losing some muscle mass and start to look like shit pretty quickly. So it kind of depends where you're at, right, Steve? So yeah, I mean, if you're like grossly overweight and you drop your calories down so drastically, even if you're eating trash, but you drop your calories down that much, something's bound to happen. Right?
In the short term, correct, but in the long term, no.
It depends when you start off. You know, it's real easy when a client approaches me, he's fat as fuck. I mean, I just know it's real easy to get somebody down. It's when you get those guys that are already lean, that have done everything, that you have to really get creative and really go into your bag of tricks and to help those guys out to make a real difference for those guys. But when you get someone that's just like overweight, like just has some really core lifestyle issues, and once you get them acting right and you feed them the proper information, automatically they make.
Well, one slice in the morning, one slice in the evening is better than what they were eating before. So yeah.
Yeah, because before they were eating a whole pizza in the morning with a Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And then they were eating a whole pizza at night with a liter of Coke.
Yeah.
So you
can always tell. I have neighbors every day on trash day. There's like 2 boxes of pizza in their garbage, like, you know, in the recycle bin, and they're obese. So you can tell just by looking at your neighbor's garbage what kind of shape they're in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I grew up in New York, so I love pizza. I really do. I love pizza. I love ice cream. I just don't indulge in either of those. Not often, at least. You know, here's the thing. When I want to have pizza, I'll get really good oven prepared, you know, oven cooked pizza at a really good place. So when I cheat, it means something. But if you just like walk by Sbarro's or one of these pizza places and you're like, oh, what pizza? And you go in there and those bad calories you could have had, you waste them on some subpar cheat meal. I mean, that's just stupid.
Yeah, that's not pizza, bro. You can't get pizza from Papa John's or Pizza Hut or Domino's. You got to go to a real authentic. There better be mafia running that fucking Italian restaurant in the back.
Capiche?
Like, they better have a back room with a bunch of mafia guys smoking cigars and stuff. That's a good fucking Italiano pizzeria. You don't got to go to fucking a franchise fucking restaurant, okay, with a fucking owner. He's fucking like a businessman in a suit, okay? That's not pizza. So yeah, real authentic New York style pizza. That's pizza. So I'm going to get Rick in on side effects, but I want to kind of get into dosage. If you do choose to use HCG. Now, typically, you know, we checked this before the show. We checked this and we couldn't find HCG that didn't come in some type of fraction of 5,000 IUs. Like we saw 1,000 IUs, 5 vials in per order, and we saw vial 5,000 IUs total. So that's what you're going to be looking at. That's the easiest way to kind of convert it. HCG, when you order it, it's going to come in a white powdery substance. It's also going to come in usually like sodium chloride. They'll send you a little sodium chloride. But for bodybuilders, you're not going to take the whole 5,000 IUs. So that sodium chloride does you no good. What you have to do is you have to buy your own bacteriocaustic water. We call it backwater. And you can just go buy that off online. That's legal. It costs a few bucks. And then you can get some spare vials. And then what you're going to do is you're going to reconstitute the HCG. You're going to take the HCG powder, you're going to put in the backwater very, very carefully in it. If you squirt the HCG powder directly, you run the risk of ruining it. These peptides are very, very fragile. So you got to be very, very careful when you're reconstituting. So you reconstitute it, then you've got to put it in the fridge. If you leave it over the counter, it's going to go bad really quick. If you put it in the fridge, it's going to last you 1 or 2 months. Okay, so you want to use those 5,000 IUs that you reconstituted within like 45 days, but it's got to be refrigerated. And then you can just inject it with a sub-Q needle, insulin needle, 25 gauge, 31 gauge, and right into the belly fat, just like you would with HGH. Very, very simple. So bodybuilding dosages, guys, I've seen anywhere from 250 IUs up to 1,000 IUs 2 to 3 times a week. And again, don't use it during PCT, guys. Do not use it during PCT. That's the one thing I don't want guys doing. And also, keep in mind, if you use it off cycle, it is suppressive. It is slightly going to suppress your HPTA. Keep that in mind. So you don't want to make a habit of doing that. Rick, side effects. Any side effects that we need to talk about that we missed?
Just a quick note on usage. I'll give you guys a quick little set of instructions if you wanted to use it. So like I mentioned, that one shot, it doesn't do it. Does a little something, but it's not the best way to use it. So let's say if you got the one kit, 5,000 IUs, and once you open it, it's not multi-dose. Once you open the amp, you got to use it all. You can grab a bunch of slim pins and just preload them, store those in the fridge, maybe in a little Tupperware container, like Steve said, and then just one a day. And then you spread out those 5,000 IUs a little tiny bit every day, as opposed to using them all at once. You know, I found that weird kind of estrogen spike that you get from HCG. It happens when you slam like 1,000, 2,000 IUs in a day, you know, more than that. It's when you start to really, really get it. When you stay in the lower range, it's not as bad, and you get the benefits out of it. Like everything, right? You get the benefits in the smaller dosage. As long as you go up higher, then the bad side effects begin to come in. So that's just a good little protocol if anybody wants to give it a shot. 10 shots actually, right? 5,000 IU kit if you've got the amps and you have to constitute it all at once. 10 slim pins right into the fridge. One little shot a day in the belly fat, and you're good to go. That's a decent way to use it as well.
All right, guys. So I really agree. I think 5,000 IUs, you're probably gonna have to get like 2 or 3 of those. So you're probably not gonna get away with just 5,000 IUs for what you're looking for. You're probably gonna have to buy 2 or 3 orders. So to add what Rick was saying on side effects, yes, you can get gynecomastia from using HCG, because what happens is, remember how I say it stimulates your Leydig cells? Well, what happens is when you run HCG, guys, you run blood work, what's going to happen is there's 4 things that are going to change in your blood work when it comes to hormones. Your LH is going to drop. Your FSH is going to drop. Remember I said it was mimicking those hormones. So your body's pituitary glands say, you know what, I don't got to produce that. So they're going to drop it. The third thing that happens is your testosterone levels go up. Why is that? Because remember I was saying HCG mimics LH and FSH? Well, it's stimulating your Leydig cells to produce testosterone. So your testosterone levels will actually go up on HCG. Crazy, huh? And what happens when your testosterone levels go up, which brings me to number 4? Your estrogen goes up. Unnaturally, your estrogen goes up. So yes, you can get gynecomastia from HCG. I've seen that. I've seen that before. So you got to watch out for that. If you're gyno prone, you got to watch out for that. Water retention. You can get other estrogenic side effects. So, but they're brief. They're very brief. HCG is not going to stick in your body a long time. So let's talk about how much HCG costs. So, Rick, what have you seen over the years? You've been around the game back in the days. Do you think HCG was more expensive back in the 90s? Has the price come down? compared to the 90s, or is it about the same price?
It fluctuates. HCG is one of those products that fluctuates in both price, availability, and and fat. It comes in and out of style. Sometimes guys will use it, talk about it everywhere. Other time guys will stop using it, shit on it, and then they'll come back, and it just fluctuates. It's like a 5-7 year cycle with HCG. So I've seen the pricing of it all over the place. I've seen it scarce where 2 or 3 sources say they can't find it, and I've seen it everywhere where sources are trying to give this stuff away. So it definitely fluctuates.
You're looking at, for a 5,000 IUs, guys, it's going to range from somewhere between $40 and $65, $70. That's how much it's going to cost. So it's not expensive. It's, about the same cost of testosterone, and a little less, actually. Pharmaceutical grade. I'm talking about pharmaceutical grade, comparing those. So that's what's going to run you. What Rick was saying earlier, the half-life on HCG is very short. It's only a couple days on the half-life. So if you do inject it, you're going to have to inject it 3 times a week. That pretty much covers it, guys, on HCG. It's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those that, it's just a matter of, do I find it necessary to run HCG? No. Are there alternatives to HCG that don't cause side effects and that don't suppress you? Yes. What we talked about, N2 Generate and 2 Generate Extra Strength, yes. Those will give you the same benefits of HCG and more without causing side effects, because those are natural herbs. HCG is a synthetic hormone. Okay, remember that. So next time someone lectures you on a forum or on the gym about HCG, make them understand you're taking a synthetic hormone that does have side effects, and it is suppressive. So if you do choose to use it correctly, use it wisely, and just be aware that it is still a hormone and it's nothing to fuck around with and nothing to play with. Anything else to add, Rick, before we wrap up?
HCG is one of those drugs that I consider to kind of be obsolete, but because there's so much information about it and it's been used for so long, people still use it. Look, if you don't want to use my product, my N2 Generate product, because it's an herbal and it's natural and you want something hardcore, then go with HMG. All right, look that up. Look for it, HMG. That one actually contains actual LH, actual FSH with the HCG in it. And to me, that's actually a much better option than just the HCG. So go find that HMG if you want to use something pharmaceutical. But I'm telling you guys, money back guaranteed. Really, man. N2 Generate, it's about all you need. If your testicles are tiny, give it a try. If it doesn't work for you, you go talk about it on the forum, tell everybody. But you're going to have great results. If your nuts are tiny from using a lot of sauce, 3 to 5 days, you'll notice a difference. You don't have to wait months for HCG Generate to work. It doesn't give you an estrogen spike, and it's just much better at it because N2 Generate, it's not trying to mimic anything. It's helping your pituitary gland get back to production. So when your testicles grow, it's not from anything in the HCG Generate itself. It's the HCG Generate getting your pituitary going again, and that in turn producing the LH and FSH that stimulated your Leydig and your Sertoli cells and everything in there to plump up and to begin working again properly. So that's it, guys. Just go with the herbal. HCG, in my opinion, obsolete. If you want to go pharmaceutical, go with HMG if you really want to go pharmaceutical. But if you want to get the best bang for your buck, you want to get something that's always legit, money back guarantee, the guy who makes the product stands behind it, HC Generate, search it on Google, N2 Generate. And you go to just hcgenerate.com or n2generate.com. You'll find the website information, the products, and give that a shot, guys.
All right, guys. Well, listen, hit me up on the forums, guys, if you got any questions on what we're saying. Hopefully this podcast made a lot of sense. We're just telling you the facts on these compounds, guys. That's the whole point of this podcast. We don't have any anything else, any other reason to do these podcasts. We hope you just suck in all the information, guys, and keep the questions coming. We really appreciate it. For Stevesmi and Rick, another episode of Evolutionary Radio. Talk to you soon, buddy. Take care.
Have a good one, Steve. Have a good one, guys.
Guys, this is the required legal disclaimer. We are only sharing our experience from years of steroid use. We are not doctors, and none of what we say should be regarded as medical advice. Always check with your doctor before taking any drugs or starting any training program.
The statements in this podcast have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. None of the products discussed in this podcast are intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. You must check with your doctor before taking any supplement or engaging in any kind of training activity.